Hi everyone. So this video is going to talk about day number 2 for lesson number 2 of this school year. And as you might recall, day number 1 was about catching an attitude and perspective taking. This second day is going to be very similar, but it's going to do it and talk about it in a different way. So you'll notice that the setup is really similar, but a little bit different. But before we get to the setup, just a quick reminder to make sure that you do have your web leader shirt and that it's all ready to go for Friday morning. Setup is similar, like I said, so you're going to want to make sure that there is some sort of available space in the 6th grade classroom where you can form a circle. Either everyone's sitting on the floor, if everyone's able to sit on the floor in a circle, or you have chairs that are in the form of a circle and you've moved the desks so that you have the appropriate space. On the board, you're going to want to make sure that the same quote is written down. So it'll say, "Attitudes are contagious, ... is yours worth is yours worth catching." And then instead of the square, you're going to have a T chart, which you'll see up here. And on one side, you're going to have good attitude listed, and then on the other side of the T chart, you're going to have bad attitude listed. So as soon as the time comes, when you're entering into the building, do make sure that you get into your 6th grade morning advisories as soon as possible with all of your gear, with all of your things, and talk with the 6th grade students. Engage with them in conversation. Make sure that they are greeted in a warm, kind, friendly way, and spend time with them. And then once the bell rings, you're going to close the door of your morning advisory and then listen to the announcements, modeling that appropriate behavior. As soon as announcements are done, you're going to get right into the activity. The first thing you want to do is you're going to want to review yesterday's activities. So make sure that the students, the 6th grade students, are answering the question about what did we do yesterday. So hopefully they recall what the activity was with the square and the thumb. And then after they review that, then you're going to talk to them about how today we are going to create a T-chart of good attitudes and bad attitudes. So in this activity, what you're going to find is it might actually be helpful to have different roles for each of the web leaders. So if you are in a classroom with 2 web leaders, make sure that one is maybe facilitating the activity and talking with the 6th grade students, while the other web leader is maybe the person writing on the board or handling the balloons and all the other materials that I'll talk about in a minute. If you are in a classroom where it's just one web leader, then you might have an A-team member that can be the assistant and help out with that. Or if you want to ask the teacher to help you out with that, that's fine too. Either way, but make sure that the 6th grade students are there engaging in the activity. So you'll talk to them about creating this T-chart, and you're going to ask the students to come up with 5 different good attitudes and 5 different bad attitudes. So you might want to give them an example. An example of a good attitude is about being happy, for example. Being happy gives us the opportunity to have a good attitude about things. So again, give them those examples to help them create this list, but you want to come up with 5 good attitude qualities or traits, and then 5 bad attitude quality or traits. Once they've come up with the list, you're going to have 2 balloons. One balloon is going to represent the good attitude list, and then one balloon is going to represent the bad attitude list. You're also going to find in your supply bags 5 pennies and 5 strips of paper. And what's going to happen is, as soon as you've created this list with the 6th grade students, you're going to say something like, well, when we have a good attitude, it's like we have happy in us as the first quality on the list. And while you're saying that, The other web leader or A-team member or maybe teacher is putting a, a strip of paper in the balloon, and the balloon is not going to be blown up. So you do that for every single good attitude, character, or trait. So again, you're going to tell them when you have a good attitude, it's like having blank, whatever the trait is, inside of you. And as you're saying those words, the other web leader or A-team member or teacher is going to be putting a strip of paper into that balloon. And again, the balloon is not blown up. You're going to do the same thing for the bad attitude list. So hopefully you have 5 character traits or qualities that are listed under the bad attitude side. But instead of strips of paper, you're going to be putting in pennies into a balloon that's not blown up. So ultimately, what you're going to have as soon as you're done with the list, you're going to have 2 balloons that have, one balloon's going to have 5 strips of paper in it, and that's the good attitude balloon. And then you're going to have one balloon that has 5 pennies in it, and that's the bad attitude balloon. Once that's done, you're going to blow up the balloons or have your co-web leader or A-team member or teacher blow up the balloons. Maybe even if you want to get one of the 6th grade students to blow them up, that's fine too. So you're going to blow them up. Doesn't have to be very big. And then make sure to close up the balloon once it's blown up. And then you're going to ask the students to inquire about which balloon is going to go down faster to the ground. Now, they can have whatever, thoughts that they might have on this, but then you're going to actually drop both balloons at the same exact time. So drop them to the ground at the same time, and you'll see what happens. Now, hopefully, the balloon with the pennies, since those are heavier, that balloon is going to drop faster, and that represents the bad attitude balloon. And so once that occurs, you're going to talk with the students about it. Which balloon did end up going faster? Why do you think that is? You can ask questions about how the one balloon represents the bad attitude balloons, and how does that make us feel? How do we feel as students here in the building when we're surrounded by other people who might have bad attitudes or good attitudes, depending on which one it is? So you're going to want to ask them all of these different questions and really, again, probe them into discussion. Make sure that you're engaging all of the students in that discussion. And ultimately, where you want them to get to is kind of realizing that we all have ways of being able to take our own perspectives. But if we have that good attitude, then what we find is that our perspective is much more positive, and it can be a much more positive experience no matter where we are, if we're in the middle school or if we're in the classroom or if we're outside of school even. So that really makes a big difference. And then at that point, I will say we're hoping that you are toward the end of the morning advisory. Maybe you have a minute left, and you're going to want to gather all of the materials. Make sure that you get the balloons and whatever other papers or pennies or what have you. Put them all back into your supply bag if you're able to, and then. At that point, too, our hope is that you get the classroom set up in the original setup. So the chairs are moved. If you have moved chairs, they're moved back to the original position, and everything is ready to go in the classroom for the teacher to teach the next period. Once everything's all set up and set back to normal, then you're going to find that hopefully the bell is ringing. You're saying goodbye to all the 6th graders, smiling, giving them high fives or fist bumps, whatever it is, and you are the last to leave. This time around, do make sure that the supply bags go to either one of us, or they go to the web box that's going to be located in the main office. So again, those supply bags we need returned to us, so do make sure that we get them or that they're in the web box in the main office. And then that's it. That's the end of that lesson. And if you have any questions, let us know. Certainly review the lesson plan that's in the Google Classroom, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much, everyone.